If cursing power were based solely on a book's size, the Codex Gigas, aka the Devil's Bible, would probably be the most dangerous book ever written. Weighing in at 165 pounds and measuring about 3 feet in height, the roughly 800-year-old tome is thought to be the world's largest surviving medieval manuscript. Codex Gigas literally means giant book. The manuscript's exact origins have been lost to time, but historians believe it was written at some point between 1204 and 1230 in the Kingdom of Bohemia, part of what would become the Czech Republic. According to the National Library of Sweden, the book was owned by at least 3 different monasteries before Emperor Rudolf II added it to his private collection, which would also soon include the Voynich manuscript. In 1594, in 1648, it was claimed by the Swedish army during the 30 Years' War and taken to Stockholm. It has been housed in Sweden's National Library since 1768. While many illuminated texts were produced by teams of scribes, scholars believe the Codex Gigas is the work of a single copyist. Written entirely in Latin, the book contains both the Old and New Testaments, along with Czech and Jewish history texts, an encyclopedia with information on geometry, legal matters, and entertainment, among other topics. Medical treatises, hundreds of obituaries, several magic spells, and a calendar. The book's sinister reputation stems from a full-color portrait of the devil contained in its pages, and a legend about how the image got there. According to folklore, the book is the work of a monk, possibly Hermanus Heremitus, or Herman the Recluse, who had broken his vows and been sentenced to be walled up alive in the monastery. He struck a deal to save himself if, over the course of a single night, he could write a book containing all the world's knowledge, his life would be spared. When he realized the task was impossible, the monk sold his soul to the devil, who helped him finish the book and signed it with the now infamous portrait. Other versions of the story say the monk added the illustration as a gesture of gratitude for Satan's assistance. There are several tales of misfortune attached to the Codex Gigas, but the curse seems to be fairly benign, considering the book was supposedly co-written by Beelzebub. One legend dating back to at least 1858 maintains that a guard was institutionalized after being accidentally locked in Sweden's National Library overnight. He was supposedly found under a table the next morning, claiming to have seen the Codex Gigas join a procession of books as they danced through the air. Written in Blood is the work of Robert and Nancy Heinel, who spent years enmeshed in Haiti's political turmoil. When the book was published in 1978, Robert Heinel was a retired Marine Corps colonel who had served as a defense advisor to the Haitian government. He and his wife, a London-born journalist, had lived in Haiti for several years when they, as well as other Americans, were kicked out of the country in 1963 as relations deteriorated between the United States and the government of François Papa-Doc Duvalier. Heinel's Washington Post obituary says he was declared persona non grata as a result of policy differences between the United States and Haiti's president, François Duvalier. But stories surrounding the publication of Written in Blood tell an eerier story. According to the Washington Post, Nancy Heinel became so immersed in voodoo beliefs that Duvalier was convinced she was a priestess with mystical powers. Duvalier died in 1971, 7 years before the Heinel's book was published. But according to Vikas Khatri's 2007 book, Curses and Jinxes, Duvalier's widow, Simone, apparently took offense to Written in Blood's unflattering depiction of the late leader and placed a voodoo curse on the book. The Washington Post says the manuscript was somehow lost at the printers, then stolen as it was being sent back to the publisher. When the book was eventually sent for binding, the folding machine malfunctioned. The curse extended to the book's publicity campaign. The first Washington Post reporter assigned to cover it was derailed by an appendicitis. At home, the authors claimed all their non-electric clocks stopped. Other misfortunes suffered by the Heinz were less benign. Robert was injured when a stage collapsed beneath him while he was delivering a speech, and a few days later, he was attacked by a dog while walking near the couple's Embassy Row home. In May 1979, while the Heinz were vacationing in the French West Indies, just months after Written in Blood was published, Robert Heinl died suddenly of a heart attack. After his death, Nancy reportedly said, "There is a belief that the closer you get to Haiti, the more powerful the magic becomes." If the Hines were in fact the victims of a voodoo curse, it wasn't the first time the Duvalier family had allegedly turned to black magic to exact revenge on their perceived enemies. According to the Encyclopedia of U.S. Latin American Relations, Duvalier claimed the assassination of John F. Kennedy Jr. in November 1963 was the result of a voodoo curse he had placed on Kennedy after the young president, suspecting financial malfeasance on Duvalier's part, had suspended aid to Haiti the previous year. This one should sound familiar to horror fans. It played a pivotal role in the 2016 film festival standout A Dark Song. The Book of Abramelin, or more formally, the Book of the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage, is a Jewish magic text that is thought to date back to the 14th or 15th century, but it owes its current notoriety to the 19th and 20th century magicians who made up the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. One of the order's founders, S.L.M. Mathers, created the book's first English translation in the 1890s, working from a 1750 French version. According to writer and occultist Lon Milo Duquette's foreword to a 2006 edition, Mathers' translation caught on with his peers, and the Book of Abramelin, or simply the Abramelin, as it's known in the magic community, became a key text of modern occultism, supposedly helping to inspire Aleister Crowley's system of magic. The centerpiece of the Abramelin is an elaborate, multi-month ritual that allows the sorcerer to commune with their holy guardian angel, essentially their celestial other half. The trouble lies in what happens after a 3-day period in which the mage is locked in blissful intimacy with the angel. Duquette writes, "Once the honeymoon is over, the sorcerer must summon up and conquer every unredeemed spirit of the infernal regions. In other words, one might surmise, all the demons of hell." Supposedly, the angel will be there to coach the magician through all that conquering, but it still sounds really hard. According to Duquette, the Abramelin's reputation as a cursed book might stem from the fact that it contains instructions for defeating the world's evil spirits. Surely the spirits would prefer to keep this information quiet, and word got around that even owning a copy was risky business, but it might be worth the gamble. Besides how-to guides for summoning angels and demons, the Abramelin includes spells for turning someone into a donkey, conjuring up some juggling spirit monkeys, and compelling a spirit to bring you cheese.